Shalom, shalom, my friends. I just wanted to do a quick video about Colossians 2 and some important things that are in that chapter. And this is in response to a comment I received from JP Madison 98. So I hope this is beneficial to you. So I first wanted to say that before I get started here, I'm going to make this pretty quick, but in Ephesians 5:11, it says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. And the reason I'm saying this is because when I'm talking about, the Christmas video that I just recently did, I know it stirs up people, and a lot of times these things get people really bothered, about Christmas trees, and it feels like we're judging, but we are to judge righteously, right? That's why it says that we are to reprove and rebuke, because if we love our brothers and sisters, that means that we would reprove and rebuke them when they are venturing off into the ditch, when they are venturing off to the right or the left. It is something that we do out of love to correct our brothers and our sisters, and hopes that they will see that putting up these false idolatry things and worshiping vain traditions is not beneficial for their walk. So with that being said, I just wanted to clarify that, and then I'm going to be trying to share my screen here and kind of go through this whole chapter. And what I'm going to do is actually at this time is blow this up a little bit so that you can see it better. So let me do that now, and we'll go through it. All right, so I have here Colossians, which is Qolasim, from the 2009 scripture on the left, and on the right I've got the King James version for reference, so people can kind of see both. Okay, let's just read this whole chapter, and I want to go through it all, and I want to focus on verse 16 and 17, and also verse 8. But I will go through this. For I wish you to know a great struggle I have for you and those in Laodicea, and for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh, in order that their hearts might be encouraged, being knit together in love, and to all riches of the entire confirmation of understanding, of a true knowledge of the secret of Elohim, and of the Father, and of the Messiah, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And this I say, so that no one deceives you with enticing words. For though I am absent in the flesh, yet I am with you in spirit. This is Paul talking to those in Colossians, right? And rejoicing to see your good order and the steadfastness of your belief in Messiah. Therefore, as you accepted Messiah Yahusha, the Master, walking in him, having been rooted and built up in him and established in the belief as you were taught, overflowing in it with thanksgiving. Verse 8. Now, this is what we need to pay attention to also. and I'll come back to this later after we go through 16 and 17. But it says here in verse 8, see to it that no one makes a prey of you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men. Okay, the tradition of men we're talking about here. According to the elementary matters of the world. Okay, we're talking about, what the Nicolaitans and these were doing back then, right? They did not, like the feast of, the believers, right? So let me go on and I'll explain more later. Because in him dwells all the completeness of Elohim-ness bodily, and you have been made complete in him who is the head of all principality and authority. In him you were also circumcised with a circumcision not made with hands, in the putting off of the body of the sins of the flesh by circumcision of Messiah. Verse 12, having been buried with him in immersion, in which you also were raised with him through the belief in the working of Elohim, who raised him from the dead. And you, being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has made alive together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses. So verse 14 says, having blotted out that which was written by hand against us by the dogmas which stood against us, and he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the stake. And we're going to come back to that. Having stripped the principalities of the authorities, he made a public display of them, having prevailed over them in it. And this is the verse that was quoted to me in the comment. Let no one therefore judge you in eating or in drinking or in respect of a festival or a new moon or the Sabbaths, which are a shadow of what is to come, but the body of Messiah. Okay, so I want to explain here what's happening in this. Okay, so Paul was not opposing the keeping of the festivals or the feasts, the Moedim of Yah. He was opposing those who judge us for doing so. Okay. If you notice, it says the eating and drinking in respect of festivals or a new moon or Sabbaths. So I'm going to read some of my notes here. We must understand that in those times, he was using the Nicolaitans. He was using the Gnostics, basically. Paul was using them as an example when he was talking to the Colossians, the Greeks. And basically, he was saying the Gnostics were into angels and pursuing knowledge. They hated Yah's feast days. They were teaching people anything of pleasure, including food, was evil. The Gnostics were telling the Colossians not to keep the feast of Yah. That's what was happening. Okay, so this wasn't, again, Paul was not opposing keeping the feast of the Moedim of Yah he was opposing those who judge us for doing so. Okay. And if you go back up to verse 8, notice what it says. See to it that no one makes a prey of you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the elementary matters of the world, and not according to Messiah. So in this verse, he's basically saying, these are the things according to humans, right? These are the things according to man's traditions, traditions of men. Okay. Because what were they doing then? They were adding and subtracting to the word because they didn't want to keep the feast, right? They actually, from what I remember in here, is that they actually were telling people it was, pleasure of eating food in these things was evil, right? So I also wanted to, well, let's read on, and then I'm gonna comment about verse 20 to 22. Okay, so let's go back down here. Let's go to verse 17, which are a shadow of what is to come, but the body of Messiah. So this verse is basically saying that the feast and all these things are a shadow, but it is of the things in the future that are coming, that are of our Messiah, right? So we should pay attention to them because he will be fulfilling them. There's 4 that have already been fulfilled and 3 that will be fulfilled. So this is him saying that we should keep them. Let no one deprive you of the prize, one who takes delight in false humility and worship of messengers, taking his stand on what he has not seen, puffed up by his fleshly mind. Okay. And not holding fast to the head, which is Messiah, from whom all the body, which is us, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with growth grows with the growth of Elohim, which is the Father. So in verse 20 it says, if then you died with Messiah from the elementary matters of the world, why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourself to dogmas? Dogmas is what they were talking about in verse 8 about the man's traditions. All right, man's traditions, the dogmas. These are not Yah's feast festivals. These are the things of the world. So do not touch, do not taste, and do not handle. I will tell you what that means. Basically means too. But verse 22 says, "Which are all to perish with us according to the commandments and the teachings of men." All right. So in verse 22, this is referring to us for doing so to the things that all perish as they are used according to human precepts and teachings. All right. So the last verse is, these indeed have an appearance of wisdom in self-imposed worship, humility, and harsh treatment of the body, but no value at all, only for sanctification of the flesh. So this was largely talking of what they were doing against, and they were talking about the traditions of men and what they were doing in the human aspect of the world, right? But when you look at this verse, and this is what I wanted to just go over one more time, this verse 16 and 17, let no one therefore judge you in eating or drinking or in respect of festivals or of a new moon or Sabbaths. This is not talking about the things like Christmas and Easter and all these things. This is talking about how they oppose those things that are like the feasts and the things of God. They've opposed those things. So when I make a video about we should not make Christmas meals and put up Christmas trees, I am not judging wrongfully by this verse. That's not what is being said here. What I am doing when I make a video about Christmas is actually correct, because I am trying to rebuke and reprove all those who call themselves believers and Christians to come out of their heathenistic ways and learn the true feast days and the true Moedim of the Most High. That is what I want people to understand and do, is that Paul was teaching and showing them that we must not let them judge us for keeping our new moons, our festivals, and our Sabbaths. So I hope that's clear. And I do this out of love. I do this even when I was trying to, and a lot of times when we are passionate about exposing the enemy for what they do about Christmas and these things, yeah, I can get a little excited, because this is the spirit that the Father has put in me to speak boldly in these times, not to hold back, but to speak boldly and to share the word by spirit and truth. And that is what I try to do. So I wanted to also say, in this verse here, a lot of people get confused too. And this is talking about what was nailed to the cross, or I should say the stake, right? The tav. What was nailed was not the law, but what was nailed to the cross or the stake was religion, doctrines of men, and dogmas, right? That's what was nailed. Okay, as it says here, having blotted out that which was written by hand against us by the dogmas which stood against us, and he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the stake. Sin and death died, not the commandments of God, right? And he paid the price, he paid the ransom for us so that we would have our sins forgiven, and that we would be able to have the relationship with him and receive of the Ruach HaKodesh. How beautiful is that, right? So, when other people also say in this that it's the ordinances, right? And some versions it says the ordinances. But you must understand that everything back then with the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes, they were adding and subtracting, mostly adding to the word. And this is why our Messiah came, and he called them hypocrites. He called them a brood of vipers. He called them these things because they were not following in the truth of the word, but they were adding so many of their own things that, so many traditions, so many dogmas, and they were adding religion to it, basically. So this is no different today. If our Messiah was here, he would see that pastors and people are adding and subtracting to the word of Elohim constantly without rightfully dividing the word. This is what they do. So once again, reading this verse, let no one therefore judge you in eating or drinking, or in respect of a festival, or a new moon or Sabbath. This is talking about the feast and the Moedim. It's not talking about men's traditions. All right. So, with that being said, everyone, I just wanted to clarify that, and I hope that this was beneficial to you. I don't want to seem like I'm too harsh on my videos sometimes, but I feel a sense of urgency, and I feel that there are just some times when I'm a little bit, bold with what I say, especially about these pagan heathen holidays, which are against our loving, caring, and merciful Creator. He has sent his only begotten Son into this world, people, so that we would follow him in his ways, and that we would leave the false idols, and we would leave all of these things behind us, and that we would learn the truth and learn to love his truth. So, yes, I do speak against Christmas trees, but it's because I love my brethren and my sisters and all those that are in error, because I want them to ultimately come to the truth that what they have done and what they are doing should be repented of, because there's only one chance, right? There's only one way to the Father, and that is through our Yahushua, for he is the way, the truth, and the life. And I just wanted to say that. So with that being said, I love each and every one of you, and I hope this was you know educational, and I hope that what I shared here kind of clarified a few things. So with that being said, once again, shalom, and until next time, peace.